out there, my name is Laudu Akonde and you are on to Inside Sources. But first, here is my take for today entitled, Who Will Tell the President Part 7. It's about insecurity and injustice in the Plateau, Benue, and other states. Here we go. In the last edition of my take, we described the resurgence of the killings in the Plateau and the alarm raised about Borno State losing grants to Boko Haram as an example of how insecurity in Nigeria is an existential threat with deep foreign dimensions. Today, who will tell the president that since then, the situation in the Plateau has worsened with more massacres, displacing people from their lands and emplacing a forced occupation? In Benue State, similar attacks have also been reported. Who will tell the president that this smells of injustice? According to news reports yesterday, specifically on Vanguard Online, and I quote, no fewer than 144 persons have been killed by herdsmen in the two north-central states of Plateau and Benue in the last 2 weeks, as the bloodletting continued late Tuesday with the killing of at least 13 persons, while scores of others sustained injuries with over 50 houses razed down. Quotation continues. Within the period, 104 persons, comprising 52 in Bassa local government area and another 52 in Bokos local government area of Plateau State, were killed by the marauding herdsmen, with at least 40 also killed in Benue State. Who will tell the president that this is a story that goes on and on, a story of death, destruction, forceful takeovers, occupation? This is injustice. Regarding the Plateau renewed killings, President Bola Ahmed made a promising statement, reassuring the people of the state that the criminals will be dealt with, and then disclosed that he had given counsel to the Plateau State governor on how to address the deeper causes of these violent conflagrations, which has been described by the governor himself as genocidal. We must commend the president on this, but who will tell the president that he is expected, however, to do much more than this as the president and commander-in-chief? Who will tell the president that the violence in Plateau, for instance, are not isolated to the state, as we can see? Besides the outrightly identified terrorism and insurgency in the northeast and the banditry in the northwest, what is happening in the Plateau and Benue in the north-central part of Nigeria is an insidious attempt going on for many years, where vulnerable people in their communities are being wiped out in order for others to take over their lands. Who will tell the president that this is injustice? Someone needs to tell the president that this is a challenge he must personally commit himself to solving and not just give counsel to the governor of one of the affected states. And for good measure, the challenges, like the president correctly noted, are long-standing, but previous administrations have struggled with but couldn't conclusively stop the problem. Who will tell the president that his administration can and should solve the problem? The president is right that these violent eruptions are rooted in misunderstandings between different ethnic and religious groups. But who will tell the president that it is better for us as a people to begin defining the problem more specifically as a problem where poor and vulnerable communities are being violently dislodged from their homes and from their lands, with the attackers replacing them through a forceful occupation? Who will remind the president that the governor of Plateau State, Caleb Mufwang, on the record said that in Plateau alone, there are 60 such communities where people have been visited with despicable destruction and death, occasioning forceful takeovers? Who will tell the president that this smells of injustice? Who will tell the president to take a more proactive approach and lead the charge to dig deeper and do what it takes to guarantee peace and ensure justice? This kind of vicious killings and attacks go beyond the reach of governors, not only because there are a number of states involved, but because the instrument of force and instrument of coercion are under the control of the president. So who will tell the president that he must lead? If the president chose to act in Rivers State to douse a potential attack on the economic lifeline of the country even before it blows into the open, who will tell him that he should act more decisively in the situation in the Plateau and Benue, where tons of blood are being wickedly spilled. Maybe we all need to say it loud and clear to the hearing of Mr. President that the buck does not stop at the desk of the governor, but the buck stops at the desk of the president. Finally, we will tell the president to listen carefully to some of the affected communities. They are ready to defend themselves. So what we should all be preaching now is to allow them to do that under the laws that bind us together as a people. We will tell the president to hasten the decentralization of the Nigerian police or adopt state police policy quickly so that each state governor gets more control of their situations and the circumstances in their state. We will tell the president over and over again that we need more boots on the ground, be it military or civilian law enforcement security agencies. And above all, someone needs to tell the president, let justice reign. Let it roll down like waters. Let righteousness prevail in Nigeria. It is a most Herculean task to have peace if there is no justice. And there you have it. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today we are opening the show with a discussion on some of the rather worrying dimensions to insecurity that we have seen lately in our country. We've heard from the governor of Plateau State, Mr. Caleb Mofwang, and we've also heard from the governor of Benue, raising quite a bit of concern. For instance, the governor of Plateau called what is happening in Plateau a genocide. To join me in that important discussion today, I have a leading Nigerian Christian leader, a cleric that is based in Jos, Plateau State, but that hails from Benue, is the president of El Buba Outreach Ministries International. I'd like to welcome two Inside Sources, joining us virtually, Prophet Issa El Buba. Prophet, good to see you on Inside Sources.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure joining you today, and thank you for doing a great work. And Nigerians, I want to thank you for joining us to have this discussion.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So, what we try to do on Inside Sources is to look at the future of the country. And, you know, I want to put it to you very directly that now we have a governor, a sitting governor, an official of state, confirming and making a declaration that what is happening in parts of the country, specifically in Plateau State, is a genocide. What do you think that says about the future of our country? Let's open up the discussion that way, Prophet.
Well, I will tell you it's a big concern because just like the governor said, is a genocide. And it's not something that just happened today. It's something that has been happening with several attacks in the past and recently of what happened on the Plateau. And you know very well that Plateau is a cosmopolitan city. It houses virtually all Nigerians. And if anything goes wrong with Plateau, everything goes wrong with Nigeria. And so with what is going on, if there is no intervention, there is a blink future that this country will stand together and this country will be together. So we are actually in a very, very serious time in the history of this country. For instance, of the recent attack, we've seen that in the past. We've followed this in the past. Some of us have even gone to the funeral where we buried in Dogonahawa, over 500 people were massacred, and their communities were displaced. And then the people who attacked came and occupied. We had to, let me use the word, among ourselves, put together all that was required to make sure we repossess some of this land. Now, in some of the communities that were attacked, again on the Plateau, over 60 of those communities, the people who attacked those communities displaced the people, killed the people, displaced the people, destroyed the properties of the people, and then, this is the amazing thing about it, now occupy those communities. So, and this tells you a lot about what these people are up to. Now, I can give you, backdating it on several years, how they would come into a community, invade the community, kill the people, displace the people, destroy their property, and take over the place, and they start grazing. And these people it's not that they are not known, please. These people are known, they are there. Some time ago, I raised during the past administration, and I'll be very honest on this. I'm not somebody who tried to double tongue. No. When the past administration, I'll be very honest with you, these people felt it was their government. They felt they were being supported and protected. And you see them move with arms. I raised up, let me use the word, an alarm. I call on the then president to speak to his own people in his own dialect, even though I know he doesn't speak much of the dialect, but that is his own people. They felt that this is their own man, and so they can do whatever they feel like doing. And so they come in, attack, and then when they attack, they clear. In one of the communities I went there, over 200 people were killed. Some of the dead bodies, we pulled them out of the wells. And we had to begin to resettle the people and all of that, and then mobilize local vigilante, because these are not just the local headers that we used to know, but these are Fulani terrorists, that target communities. There are the Fulanis that are the local dwellers. But I'll tell you also that when these terrorists come in, they connive with some of the locals. And so they give them the information. They come in from outside and they invade. But because they have a program, because they have a plan, because they have a mandate, and that mandate is that they must occupy and send the owners of the land away.
We are not saying that, this is a problem of the local Fulanis, because like you said too, a criminal is a criminal. And you are right that, quite a lot of people, not only you yourself, that thought that in the past administration, even people inside the administration, people who served in the Buhari administration, also share the same sentiment that you shared, that it will be a good opportunity, that in fact it was a good opportunity having President Buhari, who is a Fulani leader, to be able to solve the problem. I think he tried in his own ways, but not many people think that, or put differently, many people thought he could have done better. So, and that is why I want to raise this question: that what do we have to do better? What do we have to do to change this trajectory? The governor, and you have also confirmed it, said that there are communities that are now going on that have been seized. The people have been displaced, and you have these intruders taking over the space. About 60 communities. Now, that is not a joke by any means that, or any way we argue this point. So, but my question is, in your own view, what has to change in the way we manage this as a people, both government and the communities and all of us? What has to change, Prophet?
Let me say this, just like you said. My grandmother was a Fulani woman, and also I have in me my grandparents. My grandfather is a Kanuri, so we have a mix. Now the fact is that it's not like I'm criminalizing my own tribe, because I'm a grandfather of 8 grandchildren, so my grandchildren, they also carry that gene. But the fact is that, let's take for instance what is going on in Borno, in my home state in Borno, the Boko Haram.
Yes.
80% of the people that are involved in Boko Haram are my Kanuri people. And that is the reason why our people are being sincere that, look, this thing is our own people that are doing this harm to our own people. That's why you see that the Boko Haram thing has not been able to spread up, to come over to Plateau, to come over to Oshun and all of that. Everything is just there within the Northeast, especially in Borno and Yobe, partly Adamawa. But then if you look at it, when the JTF, the young men took the step to deal with it, you saw that they were able to deal with these Boko Haram boys until political issues again started coming in people who are making money from all of this evil. Okay, but if you look at it, they were able to drive away these Boko Haram boys, clean up Maiduguri, reclaim territories that were lost. Now, let's come to this invasion that is going on. This is Fulani terrorists. It's just like what is going on in the Southeast with IPOB. I mean, the 90% of the people that are doing the sit-at-home and the killing in the Southeast, they are Igbos. That does not mean that the entire nationhood of the Igbo tribe are all into it.
Right.
But we have to call a spade a spade. Right now in this country, and I'm being sincere, that 80% of the terrorists that are displacing people in their own community as headers, they come in as headers. The language they speak, the common language they speak is Fulani. Not Kanuri, not Igbo,
but Prophet,
not Yoruba.
Yeah, but you know.
Okay, so when you see that, if you want to deal with something, you have to face the reality. Okay, this is what is there. So now, where are these people coming from? What is their mission? For instance, you look at it in September 2023, it is suspected Fulani herdsmen attacked Kulben community in Mangu, all right, resulting in 10 deaths. In November 2022, Fulani militias killed 16 people in Bokos local government. This Bokos that several people were killed recently. All right? And then leaving hundreds of people homeless. In 2018, Fulani herdsmen attacked several villages here on the plateau, which I told you if I'm going to mention the name of those villages. In April 14 to 15, 2018, 32 persons were killed. If you go to the T people in Benue, by these headers. Again, in Nasarawa, you find that certain number of people were killed by these headers. So when you go to Taraba, you are finding the similar people, similar method. You go to Nasarawa, similar people, similar method. You go to Zamfara, similar people, similar method. You go to the killing that took place in Sokoto, similar people, similar method. But especially Benue and Plateau, similar. They displace the people, destroy their property, and then take over. So if we are going to deal with it, these people are there already. So why don't we mobilize? Because it's a war. When people have come to wipe away your citizen, do you now sit down to negotiate with them? You don't negotiate with people who have come to wipe away your citizen, but rather you wipe away these people who have come to wipe away your people. Now nobody can come after me as a Fulani man. Nobody can come after other of my children or my cousins who are Fulanis and attack them because they don't do it. We are Fulani people. We are one of the most educated people in the North. We are one of the most entrepreneurship people in the North. We are into political things, knowledgeable people. But you find this small group of people that are tarnishing our image, tarnishing our lineage and our tribe. And the best way is to stand up against them, empower the military and the locals. The best way to deal with these people is the locals should be involved to deal with these people who have come to clear their own land and take over their own land. We are 200 people were killed. I went there. I saw what happened. And these people were just a few meters away. I mobilized the locals. We prayed over it. We buried the dead. And after burying the dead, we started started reconstructing the villages. Okay, we reconstructed the village. But the beautiful thing was that the government partnered with us, with the armed forces, and those people were sent away. So right now, that community has been saved. They have never come back to that community again because the locals have been trained to defend themselves. So if we're going to deal with the issue, like the issue of the Fulani militia, then the community must be allowed, backed up by the government, with all that is required to displace them. I'm telling you, sir, it wouldn't take us 1 week to deal with these people. They are there. Just give the locals the right, liberty, and then the backing of the military to move in there. Take sentiments out of it. Okay? Oh, the international community may think this, but these are people that have declared war. They have declared war on your people. I mean, within the past 1 month, we have lost over 100 people. Millions of families have been displaced. People have been displaced just because of a few group of criminals. And these criminals are terrorists. Let's call them as they are. So if you're going to deal with terrorists, how will America deal with terrorists? How will Great Britain deal with terrorists? How will Ukraine or Russia deal with terrorists? If they will not allow terrorists to occupy just a small space in their nation, why should we as a nation allow terrorists to be expanding their territory? Benue bloodletting, Plateau bloodletting, Zamfara bloodletting, Borno bloodletting. No, I believe we have the solution. And that solution is for the government now to be serious and honest. Call a spade, and go after these people and wipe them away. That's the only answer.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Let me just follow up, to say that some of the sentiments that you have expressed, in terms of the fact that, these people can be identified, just like when we're talking about HIPOP, in the Southeast, we're talking about Igbos, but we're not saying that it's the entirety of the Igbos. As a matter of fact, when you talk about, the Odudua activists in Yoruba land, people like Sunday Igboho, we're not talking about the entire group. And it's important to know that anyone that does a crime, should be confronted. And I think, even President Buhari, at least in terms of his public statement, asserted as much as that. What has happened, in my view, and then I'll let you comment, is that we have not been able as a people, especially the elites, to reach a consensus among all of us as to how to deal with this problem. For instance, just a few days ago, the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, issued a statement on the latest killings in Plateau to say that he has advised the Governor Mufwang on what to do. I wanted to ask you, what's your own take? I mean, a lot of people are saying that, well, look, Mr. President, we don't know whether this is a question of you advising the governor. You control the reins. The buck stops at your table. Prophet, what's your take on that?
The first thing, he's the commander-in-chief. Yes, I appreciate Governor Mufwang is the state governor. He's the chief security officer of the state. But I tell you the truth. There is this thing that the state governors are limited. If it is left like, okay, I give you all the powers, go ahead and do what you need to do, the governors will do what they need to do. They will engage their community. But this one that you have to wait for a command, the commandants on ground will have to wait for command from Abuja. The president is the commander-in-chief. If he comes down on the plateau himself, for instance, since this thing has happened, the president has not visited. He should come down himself. I expected that the president at this point will actually come down here, even for a few hours, instruct that this community should be taken over in 24 hours. The military, they have the capability. The military, they have the capacity. With all that we have bought, the Tecanos and all of that, these people are there. They have sophisticated weapons. They are there. So it's not something that is invisible. If we start with these 60 communities, I'm telling you, this thing will stop. Then the next thing is empower the community. Allow the community to lead the fight. Because the community, they are the ones who own their community. Invaders have come. They are wiping them away. Now, it's not political, being politically, let me use the word, correct, but it's standing on what is right. So the first thing is let the president come down and give a state of emergency. The same thing he did in Rivers. If the president can do what he did in Rivers without even a fight, without any soul being killed in Rivers, and he declared the state of emergency, if he can declare the state of emergency on security, we will get this matter done in 72 hours. Whether it is Plateau or Benue, my state, the governor is crying now. It's because the locals have not been allowed to deal with these terrorists. I have said this over and over. Terrorists don't repent. They can surrender because they have been overpowered. But if you want to deal with terrorists, clear terrorists out. Wipe them out, or else you will continue to waste your resources trying to secure your people, and you can never secure your people. That's why America don't treat terrorists lightly. They deal with them. So mine is President Bola Tinubu should show the leadership, not just speaking to the governor. Give the backing. Come down here. See the people for yourself that have been displaced. Then instruct the chief of defense staff and all his apparatus, move to Plateau. These 60 communities, reclaim them in 72 hours, and we will see that the land will be recovered, and these terrorists, we can handle them. Nigeria has the capability. We have all that it takes to do it. These are the same people displacing people in Kogi, displacing people right now in the southwest, invading our forests, invading our mountains, and then we're taking them lightly.
I wanted to also observe that something happened in Adamawa State. You know, I think it started around 2016 there about the case of Mr. Sunday Jackson, you know, who was actually in his farm. He was attacked by an herdsman. You know, he defended himself. In the process, the herdsman died, and the matter went all the way to the Supreme Court, and is currently on death row. But the good thing that happened, Prophet, is that the father, who is a Fulani man himself, the father of the victim, has now said that, look, I don't want this guy to be killed. That tells you that our people, the ordinary people, be they Fulani, be they any part of the country, Igbos, the minorities in Adamawa State, in Borno State, the Kanuris, everybody, the regular Nigerian, they are not interested in many of these differences. Because that man, Ado Baruwo, has supported the clemency plea for Sunday Jackson. It was his son, you know, and these are Fulani people, that was the victim. And he said, you know what? I support the clemency for Sunday Jackson. Sunday Jackson should go free. That tells us something, that the people, the ordinary people, are ready to be won. It is up to, just like you said, our political leaders to step up and deal with this situation, especially knowing that many of these terrorists are foreigners. I give you the last word, Prophet.
I will take what you just said. I give you an example. A few months ago, some of the headers came into my farm. And when they came into my farm, by God's grace, we were able to chase them out. Together with some of my Fulani brothers and sisters who are settling around my farm. And then we were able to go after these terrorists who are coming in the name of Fulani militias. You see, the fact is this: we as a nation, we must stop this tribal thing. We must stop making certain people feel like they are more Nigerian than every other Nigerian. We are all Nigerians. And the only way we can solve our problem is when we are honest to ourselves. Like what happened to Jackson. I have said this. I have promoted self-defense. Sir, how can you always sit down in your house? Somebody will come, just like what happened few hours ago in Basa here on the Plateau. Virtually a whole family was wiped out. A whole family. Even a little child of 4 years old. This is few hours ago. And so when we try to, let me use the word, glorify certain people and then demean certain people, like what happened to Jackson, I've said this, the Supreme Court missed it. Because we have been crying out for self-defense. We told the people, defend yourself. You see, until you live within this territory, you will understand my point. You will understand that certain people have taken it upon themselves that they must wipe away. They believe we are still in the Stone Age of conquering, take over, conquer, take over, conquer, take over. They believe we're still in those Stone Age. They don't believe that we're in the 21st century. So if we're going to deal with this matter as a people, I'm saying that 1 month is enough to put a message to these terrorists. If all of us, like the father of the young man that attacked Johnson and Jackson killed, there are many of our Kanuri brothers. Do you know that parents in Maiduguri, they will bring out their children and say, my child is in Boko Haram, kill him. Deal with him. Wow. Do you know that that was the spirit we were seeing in Borno? Before politicians will now take it off and then begin to manipulate it to their own disadvantage, using it to make money. I'm telling you, here on the plateau, I saw Fulanis who brought their own, some of these headers and said, look at them, take them. And we did. So if we, the Nigerian people, will be honest with ourselves, take away sentiment, take away this tribal thing. We are Nigerians. Yeah. This is what I know. You know, before I am a Kanuri Fulani or Kanuri or Yoruba, what? We are Nigerians. There is this intermarriage. My father fought First World War, Second World War, married somebody from the middle belt of Nigeria. So we are having this blood flowing in us. Kanuri, South, North Central. When you look at all of us, so we are Nigerians. Yeah. We should stop this tribal thing. Secondly, we should stop politicizing this thing. It's affecting all of us. These are poor people. The thing that pains me most, Mr. Olo, is that these are poor people. Most of these people killed and displaced. They are innocent. They just go about their business. They go about their farm. And then these people sponsored by some Nigerians and international community. They bring in these things in order to displace our people and cause us to go through the pain that we're going through. And at the end of the day, you go to the IDP, you find 3,000, 5,000 in one tent, in their own territory, in their own land. I feel the pain. And all I'm asking is the federal government should give us the liberty. I am ready, even as a clergyman, I'm ready to join with the locals for us to deal with this thing, because all of us Nigerians, we must join. And Nigeria is the only nation we have. Yeah. America is not my country. Britain is not my country. No any other nation is my country. Nigeria is my country. We are politicizing this thing, using it as a religious instrument. Okay, we look at them. Okay, they are Muslims attacking Christians, like what is happening on the plateau. The majority of the people are Christians. But when we take religion out, any criminal is a criminal, whether it's a Christian or it's a Muslim. Whether it's a Fulani or a Kanuri or Igbo, a criminal is a criminal. Exactly. The Bible says, he that kills by the sword shall also die by the sword. We can't be greater than God. Nigeria is in a war. It's a war. I'm saying this because I'm living in the north. I'm living in the north. I feed thousands of people every day. Farmers cannot go to their farm. You have to sponsor children to school. These were not beggars before. They were satisfied. They were farmers. They could go to school. I'm living in the north. I know what my people are going through. And if we're going to deal with it once and for all, the Nigerian state must back the communities to say, we will go along with you. Let's clean up our land. Our Igbo brothers, our Fulani brothers, our Kanuri brothers who are doing honest business and they have settled in a community, of course, nobody will touch them. But you can't be watching criminals every day. Now, within just 1 week, we have lost 100 people on the plateau. And you tell me it's normal? You tell me it's headers and farmers clash? No, it's not.
Thank you so much.
It's the people that have declared a war.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Prophet Issa El Buba, for your voice and for your forthright views. Like you said, Nigeria is all we got, and we will continue to advance and advocate for all of these things to be sorted out. And hopefully, with God helping us, we will have the Nigeria of our dreams. Thank you so much for coming to Inside Sources, Prophet.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. And thank you, Nigerians. I just want to say this before I go out. Nigerians, let's be sincere with ourselves. Nigeria is the only country we have, and the masses are suffering. The people are suffering. We need to know that we cannot continue to suffer in a land that is blessed by God. We are blessed. We are blessed. We don't need politicians to give us money. Nigeria is blessed to be great. And so I encourage every Nigerian, let's stand for our country. And thank you for what you're doing, Inside Sources. Thank you, channels, for what you're doing. And we appreciate your sacrifice, your labor, and your truthfulness to help Nigerians get informed and also do what is needful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Prophet Issa Hebuba. You hail from Benue, based in Jos. You do understand the problem very well. Thank you for your views. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources. Sir. All right. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. We want to have a quick discussion on Nigeria, Mr. Donald Trump, and a new trade order, a new world trade order, which is what it has become. To join me in that conversation today, I have two important Nigerian public intellectuals, including one that is based abroad in the United States, Professor Nimi Wariboko, the Walter G. Moelda Professor of Social Ethics and the Director of African Studies in the Boston University. Professor Wariboko, you are welcome back to Inside Sources.
Yeah, thank you for having me back. I'm really grateful.
All right. And of course, for the first time, welcoming Dr. Emeka Okengu, my brother, development economist and former World Bank consultant. You're welcome, Dr. Emeka, to Inside Sources.
An honor to see you. It's been a long, long while. It's great to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So let's start with Dr. Emeka. You are a development economist. Yeah. So can you tell us, in a very short stage, what is your own understanding of how Nigeria can turn this Trump tariff debate issue into an opportunity? Let's start there.
Let me start with what I think you're very comfortable with. It's a four-letter word, ERGP.
Okay, tell Nigerians what that is.
Okay, Economic Recovery Growth Plan. Okay, it was a program that Nigeria as a country embarked on, I think between 2018 to 2020, sometime like that period. And what he was supposed to be doing, or what he did, was to identify very clear alternatives to our dependence on what you call the Dutch disease. And ERGP Lab had gone into almost every aspect, every area of our economic life, and identified projects that were now consummated, mostly, on PPPs or concessions.
Yeah, PPPs,
private
partnership
and concessions. So they were not contracts. They were economic development pathways, that government had evolved. And that was captured in what you now called the National Master, Infrastructure Master Development Plan, that now gave rise to the midterm, National Development Framework that was supposed to be running between 2021 to 2024, and then another one that was to run from 2024 to 2030. Now, this was supposed to be some preparation, this is where we are, this is where we're going. I can tell this because I was involved in one of the major outputs of the ERGP lab systems in Nigeria. There was a program called the Bioethanol Cassava Value Chain Project. Now, when the Office of the Vice President, which was handling the ERGP then, adopted it, you had 60 universities that had signed on. He had developed a national policy for our bioeconomy. He had gotten us as, being recognized in the global economy of having the capacity for bioenergy and bioeconomy. He had, all zones in this country, partnering or keen into it. And he had 3 or 4 major outputs that I'd like to discuss because it is all about this tariff. One, it was supposed to be making us, bioethanol dependent or bioethanol independent. And if you know what bioethanol can do to a country vis-a-vis its energy needs, you'll be shocked. It was supposed to be making us food sufficient in one of our greatest staples, cassava. And may I tell you, Laolu, one of the listed, materials as, pushed this inflation is cassava. So as far back as 2018, government had identified under the ERGP that cassava was a very major staple, has about 6 or 7 or 30 derivatives, and then had the capacity, and I'm going to be resting on this, to start making livestock feed from the waste of the cassava. So if you're talking about impact, if you're talking about what does this mean for Nigeria, it's a wake-up call, but I hope, we don't have the water over our noses. Because trade is all about something. It's what you're bringing to the table. And then when people talk about tariffs, let me allow Prof to also come in here. It's also important we know that we also have some very crazy tariffs. Please go check our tariff on wheat.
Let's take it to Professor Nimi Wariboko. You are there in the United States. I know that you are a professor of social ethics, but I know you're also an economist, before you ventured into social ethics and other stuff. Now, based on what the U.S. president has said, that he's going to do, and specifically regarding Nigeria, what is your understanding of how this affects us, Nigerians and Africans?
Thank you, Mr. Kande, for that question. And I really appreciate what the women economists have said. But for us to lay the background, let us, before we look at how it affects Africa or Nigeria, let us clearly look at what is happening in the United States and why is Donald Trump, the president of the United States, doing what he's doing. Because understanding that international context would inform how Nigeria or African countries should respond. Because we're in a very important moment at this time in global history and global trade. And so let me take time to explain that. I will call that what we are dealing with is what they call parallelogram of forces. There are 4 forces that are impinging on what Trump is doing. And if we understand that, we can strategically position ourselves. So the first thing to understand is, one of the first forces is, yes, Trump has some intent, or the public reason is doing that. He wants to encourage manufacturing in his country. He wants to re-establish the industrial base of the United States. So we should understand that. But the second thing to understand is that how his approach so far has seen through the different tariff regime he has attempted to impose. And people will say the approach is bad, because are they really calculated to achieve those aims? And so far, we have not seen that they are deliberate and calculated to achieve those aims, whether in the short run or in the long run. We've seen more of confusion. But the next 2 things I would say, it's really important for Nigeria and Africa to know what Trump is really dealing with. Anybody who is familiar with international monetary system, trade and payment system, at least for the past 400 years, what Trump is dealing with, and which many people have ignored, is what was called in the 40s and 50s, is what they call the Tariffs dilemma. Tariffs is T-R-I-F-F-I-N, Tariffs dilemma, which means that once a country owns the global reserve and vehicular currency, as the dollar is the global currency of the world, you have to open your economy and suffer deficit for the world to function. And so that is the paradox of the Tariffs dilemma, that your ability to become the issuer of the global currency and a place where everybody keeps their national savings, you have to suffer deficit. And so America is caught in that dilemma. If you want to keep dollar as a reserve, then you have to do this, open your economy. So what Trump is doing, in a sense, he has seen the pain of that trifle dilemma, which economists said decades ago that it was going to happen, and which also in my book, 2008 book, I said, God and Money, about the global monetary system. I said that was going to happen. So Trump finally realized, wait a minute, we can't do this anymore. And again, the U.S. running deficit, trade deficit, or so even has been going on since 1958. So finally, Trump wants to take on. But the irony is that to take up that responsibility, it means that America has to lose its position in the as the issuer of global of global currency. So that is what America is dealing with. And in the midst of that, we also have what they call international power transition theory. And I've looked at the history. Anytime a rising power accumulates so much trade surplus, and it's a place to overtake the next power, we see this kind of things happen. Britain went through it, and before Britain, Portugal and Spain.
Interesting.
So Trump is fighting a war, perhaps eventually is going to lose, because China is a rising power. And that's why the fight is really against China. And therefore, when China achieves its position, he's going to impose his currency as a global reserve currency, right? So now, history has shown that when countries are in this position, when there's the moment of transition of global power, it often leads to war. And that is the scary part of the whole exercise. That people have forgotten that, they've forgotten their history, that when country economic power and the global reserve system and the global currency is in a position to change, what happens? Britain went through that, and part of it went to the First World War. America at that point was in a position to take over, but America didn't take over till after the Second World War with the Bretton Woods system in place. So what I'm saying is that we have to understand Trump in that way. And then the fourth force is what I call the uncanny, because we're in a terrifying position in a sense that if this is not handled very well, it might very well lead to not trade war, but physical war, because that is what history has taught us over the decades. But do we need to get there? No. We can manage that. So I wanted to put that as a credit, that what we are dealing with Trump is not a regular trade war or tariff. It's a situation of who is going to eventually issue the global currency of trade and payment, and where is the reserve going to be? Because as even Trump is fighting China, let us not forget that China has about $1 trillion of its reserve in the U.S. system. And that is the benefit that America enjoys. Haiti has its reserve in the U.S. Nigeria has its reserve. Every country saves their money in the U.S. And why? Because everybody needs the access to the dollar. And so what Trump is fighting is really stopping the erosion of the dollar as the global currency for trade and reserve. And this is the moment we're in, and I want the world to understand that in the way they respond to the Trump administration.
Okay, very, very interesting dimension. So we have to try and see how Nigeria can fit into that, So let me just bring it back to Dr. Emeka to make a response, So how do you think Nigeria ought to respond, or Africa generally?
Well, you see, you need to understand what they call the politics of international economic relations. And then you also need to fixate it with what you call MAD, the mutual assured destruction.
Okay, yeah.
Now, what's happening here for me is that people are not seeing a pushback. What I see is a pushback against the BRICS, more than I see anything.
From the Americans?
Yes. Okay. What I see here is this reality that you no longer have anybody who is an underdog. Okay, what I see here is a realization that they had gone too far, too deep in this. America is the policeman and the greatest, nation on earth. Okay, what I see here is that there's a new global order that is not so dependent on the stack up of dollar as it is because of, the cryptos that you have now. So what I see here is that there's a total and complete, disruption, okay, of the world trading and global systems. And then you not at one time need to bring it down to earth. It is no longer about highfalutin words. With what happened in Ukraine and Russia and the amount of disruptions it did, okay, to global supplies of goods and services by just you having one little war here and another crisis at the Suez Canal gave a lot of inkling that every nation is vulnerable. Now, anybody who thinks that America is still that big brother, okay, needs to look at America's debt to GDP. It's one of the biggest, it's one of the highest in the world, okay? You now need to look at American treasury bills. Now, Canada is, with its $350 billion as treasury bills, I think China is holding up to about $1.1 trillion on those bills. Europe put together is holding about another $1.2 trillion or something. I mean, that doesn't make you big. That makes you the giant with the clear feet. And I think it's that reality that something new needs to happen, okay? And that China has been able to create, this new world order, okay, by just saying, okay, fine, you know what? We'll take all the debt, we'll take all the smoke, we'll take all the smog, okay? But we take all the products. Now, in the past 2, 3, 4, 5 days, I don't know if you've been following it, a lot of everything you thought, was upper class is being traded in the internet for $10, from the Louis Vuittons to whatever. And where is this trading coming from? From where it is produced. Where is this produced? China. So you cannot now think you can muzzle China. You can't. You can't even muzzle India. You can't even muzzle Thailand. You can't even muzzle Brazil. So let's be clear about this. It's going to be hurting everybody. Okay. Truth of the matter is that I read the letter from the president of Mexico, and it's an interesting letter you should read. Try to find it and read it. When they were talking about locking out the 7 billion, and he says, sir, if you lock out 7 billion people, and those are people on the other side of your wall, you know what can happen? A lot can change. All right?
That is
so,
Americans locking out.
Yes, because, I mean, when you're playing this big brother thing, what's important for you and for us to know, that's what I started with, what I know you were part of, and what you said to Nigerians, is ERGP. So that every nation now, and part of what do you do tariffs, is also to protect, your local industry right, and your productivity. So if you are not understanding that this is the greatest and biggest opportunity, but there are demands. And let me tell you the first demand. The demand is that there has to be a blurring, of false borders. And a deliberate mapping, a deliberate headhunting of our best, be it where they are. If they are in churches, if they are in mosques, if they are in mountains.
Wherever they are, whatever they do. Now, this come a time in our nation where we need to begin to ask ourselves 3 critical questions. Critical question number 1, if we have over 200 million human beings, right, are they resource or capital? If they are resource, how do you make them capital? If you have 5 billion metric tons of iron, is it raw material or is it a product? What do you do to now put it as some product you can be able to take to the market? So this is, when I hear about America got into that slide a very long time ago. Interesting. Thank you so much. Professor Wariboko, we give you the last word. So in your own view, based on analysis, what do you think a country such as Nigeria should be doing?
Yes, so as the doctor said, international politics is brutal economic interests. So it's at this point that we seem to be entering a transition to a new global order, and America is doing everything to stop it. It's our opportunity to position ourselves, at least at the minimum, to be the regional power in Africa. We have the resources, we have the talent, but what we lack is good governance system and consistent economic policy. But that is not happening. As long as the ruling class in Nigeria regard the state as their main means of production, it is not going to happen. But this is a golden opportunity that as the world is being recalibrated, we should also recalibrate, resituate ourselves to be that global power, right? So if Trump is imposing tariff on Africa or Nigeria, I mean, the total trade between US and Africa last year was only about 72 billion or or so, but US exports 32 billion of that, and Africa exported 40 billion. But that is the kind of trade that we can easily generate in Africa. And take, for instance, if Nigeria organizes its supply chain and all that network, like the way where we are situated, we are about in the middle of the globe, if you look at it. So it's easy if Nigeria becomes a manufacturing hub to transport to the Latin America or to the Western hemisphere, and also to the Eastern hemisphere, to the Eastern Russia or China. So we're in a place where we could see that if you become a manufacturing hub, we can cut down international cost of transportation. So there are many things that we can do, but as the doctor has said, we are not harnessing the best of our talent. Because I remember in 2011, I was at the central bank during one of the summer consulting when they were still finding out ways to implement the 2020 economic vision. And after that, nothing came out of it. The government that came after didn't implement it at all. And so we're in a situation where people get great ideas, but government come in, government go, nothing is being done, because as long as corruption is the best way to make money in Nigeria, then it's going to happen. The doctor also mentioned about tariff. Some of the tariffs put in on goods in Nigeria, they are not really directed to encourage production. They were directed to protect certain individuals so they can become millionaires and billionaires. So our tariffs were not really directed at producing anything, was to create a monopoly market for certain powerful individuals. And we need to call this out. So the tariffs are there, the people are paying the higher prices, but it's not growing the economy. It's making few people richer and richer. And so with that kind of approach, I don't think Nigeria is ready for the moment we are in.
Thank you so much, Professor Nimi Warigboko, for your contributions. And thank you so much, Dr. Emeka Okengu, for your contributions also.
Pleasure.
Thank you so much. And there you have it. You know, it's a wake-up call. You know, this new world order is a wake-up call. It's an opportunity, and it's a time for us to get our hearts together. Thank you for watching Inside Sources today. My name is Laolu Akonde, and by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.